IMCO. I want to welcome you to the Precise Selling, the IMCO Winner Circle webinar today. This is the last one in our series for this year, but every one that we've done throughout the year is recorded and it is on our website. Last week's and this week's will be up here later this week on the Winner Circle website, so you can access them. Today we're doing the Science to Selling Equipment and with our great partner Burdick. And today we will have with us the Brian and Brian show. So we have Brian McCarthy with Burdick, and then of course we have Brian Sullivan with Precise Selling. So I will turn it over to Brian.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Karen. All right. Hey, everyone. Thanks for joining us on another Monday webinar session. We hope you found value in last week's technology session. We hope you got a chance to go out and use some of the things we taught you. Today's a hot topic always, and that is how do we sell more equipment? You know, in the distribution world, you typically look at cotton balls and Band-Aids and supply business as the stuff that pays the mortgage. And as Brian will attest, the selling equipment is the stuff that gets you to the fancy vacation. So, you know, there really is a difference between the average rep and the best reps in our industry. And the best distribution reps in our industry feel real comfortable selling equipment, and they really look at it to be a big percentage of the overall sales that they have. And so there's no better partner than Burdick when it comes to talking about equipment. So we're pretty pumped to have you here. All right, so I want to come out of the gates. So Brian McCarthy, another good Irish Brian, is teaming up with me today. And you know, early on when Brian and I prepared, and as you remember from other webinars, you know, I always like the manufacturer to come out of the gates and answer the question: why should you, as an IMCO rep in the morning, with all of the SKUs that you have to sell, all of the promotions being thrown at you, you know, I believe there's only about 5 or 6 manufacturers in our industry who really do it right. And you know, Brian's been in this industry for a long time. In fact, Brian and I used to work together with another manufacturer back in the day. And Burdick was always one of those names that dealer reps would think of when they got up in the morning. And so I wanted to give Brian a chance to answer the question again: why should you every morning consider Burdick one of your top 5 manufacturers, and why should you team up with them? So Brian, tell the crew what you're thinking.
Sure. Hey, thanks, Brian, for having me. Karen, I appreciate the opportunity to come on and talk to your IMCO members today as well. Brian, you're right. Burdick is one of the names out there that distributor reps think about every day. And one of the things that we need to do as a company is, why should you go out there and sell Burdick? And I don't do a PowerPoint by death, even though it's here in front of you all. We are and will continue to be the market leader in selling ECGs, stress, Holter, and PC ECGs out in the market. We're always very innovative. We protect your leads. You bring us into the dance first, we make sure you get that sale. We will protect you on any lead that you give us, no matter where it is, how it comes to us. You go into a doctor's office, you give us a call, we will protect you right from the beginning to the demo, to the sale, to the end service. Also, you know, increase opportunities with more equipment. When we go in there, we're doing a demo for an ECG, we're bringing out the entire bag that we have. Doctor, what are you doing for Holter? Are you sending them out? How many are you sending out? This is a great revenue stream to have into your office. So when we go in there as a Burdick rep, we're selling everything in our bag, asking questions. What other testing do you think you need to do? And also, we got a great promotion with Winner Circle going on this quarter. We've got the lowest pricing ever offered to IMCO dealers out there on the 83 and the 8500 units out there. We will surpass any sales this quarter with IMCO. We're going to be doing a lot of ride days, a lot of calls. We're going to be doing a call in a few weeks down at Daytona, get all your members on the phone and work with us, and we will work with you.
All right, perfect. Good deal. Well, and you know, you're dead on, Brian, when you mentioned Burdick. You know, certainly there's been a few name changes along the way, but I mean, the great thing about you guys is you've always been the market leader. And then certainly you've had some great manufacturers and great names, you know, competing with you in that market. But, you know, the good news about Burdick is it never goes away.
You're right, Brian. And the thing that we have is that we're only in selling cardiovascular equipment. The other companies we compete against are great companies. They do great things with their main line. We just sell cardiovascular equipment, and that's all we will always do out there.
Yep. Yep, which certainly makes you guys the expert. So now that the challenge is what do we do to make the distribution folks better than the other distributors they're competing against? And so let's talk about the equipment strategy. And I think that there's something mildly flawed about the way our industry has been going about selling equipment. And really, here's how it's gone. And you've been part of this yourself, Bri. We all have. It usually starts out step one is a manufacturer often comes in, and certainly the non-brand name, sort of the ones who don't understand distribution, like the Burdicks of the world, they come in and they drop a whole bunch of information on top of the distribution rep, expecting that they're going to go out and get leads. And then the dealer rep might grab some literature, grab some brochures. They'll pop by a customer. Maybe they'll ask one or two probing questions that the manufacturer told them it sure would work. They give the literature. They spew a few features. They talk to the wrong decision makers. And then at the end, they'll say, well, geez, I can't understand why my equipment sales are so bad. And so the good news is that, there's a better process because this one flat out stinks. The days in this changing healthcare economy of grabbing literature and then dumping it on customers really are over, because now so many customers can go out and do their own research. But what we want to do today is we want to give you the skills that you need. And I think there are 5 very specific things that you have to do to be a top performing equipment salesperson. Now, you'll see the formula here. I call it PRIDE, and I put a fancy little acronym together because I think it'll be easier for you to remember. Let's first come out of the gates talking about prospecting and what you have to do to prospecting. Now, Brian will atone to this that it really is, I think, a simple business, and let me tell you what I mean. The distribution reps who have deep friendships, and we talked about this last week with the manufacturers. They just happen to do a whole bunch together. But those manufacturers who struggle, and those dealer reps who struggle, they really look at manufacturers being separate from dealers. In fact, often distribution reps who are underperformers, they'll often look at manufacturers as sort of they get in my way. I'll call them when I need them. I don't ever want to work with them because they slow me down. And I will tell you that's a poisonous attitude. The ones who say, I will reach out to my top 5, I will live, breathe, eat medical equipment with them, that's where great things are going to happen. So think about whose job is it to prospect. And if we were doing a live seminar here, I would pose that question to all of you. Whose job is it to prospect? And it's funny, when I do manufacturer seminars, the manufacturer says, well, it's the dealer's job. And of course, the dealers often believe, sure, it's my job. But here's my take. The best manufacturers do a whole bunch of prospecting on their own, and they dump leads in your lap. So I don't think it's a bad thing for you to build great friendships and relationships with manufacturers and ask them to give you introductions and leads. That's not a bad thing. But ultimately, you control your own commission check. So you've got to think, whose job is it? It's all of our job to prospect. So when do we prospect? Well, here's my take. I think you pick a product and you prospect on virtually every call. Now, some might say, well, geez, I don't want to go overboard. I don't want to kill them. But our job is to glue ourselves to them and add value. And there's so many new technologies. In fact, before we went on the line today, Brian was telling me he's at a training session in Chicago learning about some new, cool Burdick technologies. Well, I'd want to be the person who knows everything about that product, be the first dealer rep to know everything about that product. And it's my job to blanket my territory and prospect for that product. So let's talk about it. So let's think about yours, Brian. You'd mentioned that you're very focused on cardiology because you want to be an expert in that niche market. So if I wake up tomorrow morning, I'm all fired up. Let's say I'm going to focus on your ECG line, but maybe I haven't done enough with Holter. And I know there's a lot of ECGs out there. And guess what? When people come back with an abnormal ECG, there's additional testing that needs to be done, such as stress and, of course, Holter. So who do you want the dealer reps to call on as it relates to products like that?
That's a great point, Brian. And I think also we need to understand every account that you call on, they have an ECG in there. That is the gateway to other further testing. And you walk into a doctor's office, and there are certain people you want to get through first. You got the old gatekeeper at the front of the office with the glass enclosure, not wanting anything to do with you. We need to get beyond that. And there's some simple ways that we do it. And I love cold calling, Brian. I'm down in an office building. I see another doctor's office. I'm going to walk in, hey, I represent EKG line. Can I come back there and take a look at your EKG, make sure it's working correctly? So one of the things is the office manager. They're the ones that, why do I need to buy a new ECG this month? I've got an ECG that's been in here for 10 years. Well, what are you currently using? What are your prospects of, do you currently have an EMR? So those are some of the questions you want to ask an office manager. Then you want to get to the lead nurse, the nurse that's using it. What do you like about it? What things would you like to see changed? What do you like about your current ECG? The physician, they're the ones that, end result, they get the ECG. Are they satisfied with its results? Do they think it's accurate with its interpretation? And also IT contacts. As you well know, Brian, technology is changing out there. Things are going paperless. Things are going to EMRs. We need to make sure we're in the forefront of that with Burdick, in which we are, and how we connect through every EMR that's available today through a PDF. You can do it bidirectionally. You want a laptop, or do you want a 83 or an 8500 unit out there? We can do it any which way you want. And so those are all the call points that we believe are very successful in getting equipment into a physician office and getting the new state-of-the-art equipment out there.
Yeah, and so your point's a huge one. Is if in the distribution world, if you've been calling on the same accounts for a while, we have a tendency to have our buddies or our friends, and it might be the office manager. And what we've really tried to focus on in these IMCO webinars this year is to try to expand the number of relationships that we have. And I know those of you who've been on the some of my previous webinars, you've seen this slide before, and again, it's purposeful. Because it's so important that if we're used to calling on that office manager, who in this slide would be Winston, this is often the person who's concerned about bottom line, price, keeping costs down. You need to find and get closer relationships with people like the nurses. And of course, the nurses care about how does the thing work. You might have a VP of nursing for you folks who are calling on the acute care facilities. What's the big difference between a Burdick product and maybe some of the other brands? So you need to change your presentation to match that story. And then ultimately, why would an organization, why would a clinic want to team up with you, backed by a company like Burdick? Well, the C-suite person is looking for deep partnerships. And I think one of the great things Bride mentioned is he's going to be begging you for ride withs. Well, that tells you that, here's a company that if I have to do a sit down and get into a detailed, high level strategic discussion, so we're talking more than bells and whistles on an individual product. Do I've got the backing? And I think that's what's so cool about a company like Burdick is that they can talk the language of any decision maker. And so don't be afraid to use them. So let's talk about the Q4 Winner's Circle products right now. So it's tomorrow morning, Bri. I'm all fired up. Maybe I haven't sold a Burdick product in a while, and it's it's go time here. Talk about the products that are in the Winner's Circle promotion right now in Q4, and give us some of the key features and benefits.
Sure. Thanks, Brian. Yeah, Brian, thanks. And two of the products that we have on there, which everybody knows about, that we have the Burdick 8300 ECG, which, by the way, is the #1 selling ECG in the physician market. It's got a great warranty. It's got a 3-year warranty that covers all parts and labor out there. So it's a great peace of mind for the physician, for the nurse. If it ever needs to come back, we get loaners out there. We come back and do in-service after in-service. We never charge for it. We want to make sure they're very comfortable with their ECG. And they're all EMR, EHR ready. You look at the back of it, physicians don't trust sales reps. We just turn it on, doc, which way do you want to connect? We've got all your connection availability here off the 8300. And with the 8500, we just take it a step further. It's got a 4-year warranty on it. It's got a preview screen. It's got a great interpretation, and we believe is the best interpretation in the field. Doctors want an accuracy printout. They want to agree with the interpretation that we give them. And we have the standard of care out there in the interpretation we look at. And I'm not going to get into all the clinical aspects of it, but we have the most accurate interpretation out there. And again, it's EMR ready. So when you're out there looking at ECG machines, Burdick is the brand that most physicians want. And again, great pricing this quarter. We got tremendous pricing out there. It's the lowest price we've ever given to IMCO out there. And plus, spiffs are nice too. Not only going to get a great price, a great cost, you're also going to make $100 for selling an EKG of an 8300 or $100 for selling a Burdick 8500 this quarter.
Nice.
So it's a win-win for everybody. Nice. You're upgrading your physicians on new ECGs, you're getting a great spiff, and you're saving the doctors a lot of money. And with this time of the year, Section 179, Brian, is a huge proponent out there. Doctors want to save money. Section 179 allows them to buy a brand new piece of equipment and have a nice little tax write-off.
Yeah,
We'd
right.
all love to have those.
And that's a great point, right? Fourth quarter is when you have to start talking Section 179. Maybe we'll hit on that a little bit later when we talk about the closing piece, because I think it's huge. All right, let's talk about Holter, because this is the thing that tomorrow morning I'm waking up. I know I've got some replacement ECG business out there. I'm going to start prospecting, but I'm going to find my niche talking a little higher level. Holter's going to be something I'm going to tee up. What do I got to know?
I tell you what, Brian, Holter, when I go in and do an ECG demo, I bring in a Holter recorder with me. I bring in an ROI. This is like an ATM machine to a doctor. You do 2 or 3 Holters a month, it pays for itself. Plus, it keeps your patients in the office there too. A lot of doctors are like, I don't know if I want to do Holter. My question back to them, you're currently doing an ECG? Yes, I am. Do you know how to read an ECG? Absolutely. Well, Holter's a 24-hour ECG. It gives you the results. And if you have any questions on a doctor, you can just send it over to your cardiologist. In fact, you're helping out the cardiologist by keeping that patient in your office and sending over that patient to the cardiologist for further testing. And the accuracy of our ECG, I mean, this is not coming from us, Brian. This is coming from studies at the AHA and MIT that were at 99.95% accurate. When you're looking at a 24-hour ECG with 100,000 heartbeats, accuracy is so important. And that's what we're able to give the physician. It also helps you keep your competitors out there. I got an ECG sale, but I never got the Holter deal. Talk about it. Once you talk about it, they have questions that you can't answer, give me a call. We'll bring in the expert. We'll help you close it.
Yep. Yeah. So a great place to prospect for Holter is look around who has an ECG. Well, guess what? Probably certainly every one of your primary care offices has them. So if you can imagine making the commitment that everybody who has an ECG, I will prospect for a Holter. All right. And so let's talk about the numbers game, because this is huge. Because, Brian, you and I can, with Karen, we can sit here and we can do this webinar, and then, we can cross our fingers and hope that the folks go out and do a whole bunch of prospecting. But the downside is when a distribution rep isn't very focused on what number of prospecting calls do I need to make. Well, sometimes they prospect enough, sometimes they don't. But a lot of reps don't have a very specific plan. And here's what I want everyone to do. And we did a prospecting webinar, and I want to reiterate what this process is. So here we are tomorrow morning. I'm going to ask the question. I'm going to say, all right, and I want all of you to think through this. Let's think of the fourth quarter. How many ECG sales would you like to have? And I want you to, in your brain, think of what that number would be. So boy, wouldn't it be great if you can go out and let's say I just want to sell 5 ECGs. I'm going to be realistic. Q4, I think I can go down my target list, and I guarantee you, replacement-wise, there's enough old Burdick units out there that I can sell 5 of these. Well, I want you to think through, to get 5 sales, how many demos do you need to do? So when I say this, how many times do you need Brian McCarthy and team to come on in and do a demo? So let's say you get 15 demos. Well, is there any doubt, certainly with as good as the Burdick folks are trained, is there any doubt that if you get 15 demos, of course you're going to sell at least 5 of these things? So if I'm a dealer rep, I'm saying, all right, how do I get 15 demos for Brian? Because I know if I get 15 demos for him, I'm going to get 5 sales. Well, that's great. But the people aren't going to start calling me today to start saying they want Burdick demos, which means I got to hustle, all right? Which means I have to make prospecting calls. So if you think, okay, for me to get Brian in 15 times, how many cold calls? And when I say cold calls, it could be a current customer. They just don't know you're about to hit them up for an ECG or, let's say, a Holter. I'm going to pull out my target list today, and I'm going to go down it. All my customers, I'm going to say, all right, that guy should get one. That guy, not a chance. Well, that's worth prospecting, not a chance. And I would create a list. And that list might include 45 different names, right, just from my current list. And this might take me, if we think of, this week, I know you're going to see 45 people. I know it. So let's say every customer who I target, who I determine is qualified, I'm going to make those 45 calls. Well, I can promise you, if you make 45 prospecting calls, and we're going to talk about how to prospect, you make 45 of those, you're going to get Brian in there 15 times. And I can promise you, if you get Brian in 15 times, you're going to get 5 sales. So part of being a great equipment salesperson is taking control of your own destiny and being very focused in the number of prospecting calls you have. And so it starts there. And a lot of folks at the end of the month say, geez, I don't know why my prospect or why my equipment numbers are down. And I would say, first question I'd ask is, how many prospecting calls did you target? And most distribution reps can't tell me. They say, well, I went out and I talked it up. I'll say, how many? How many did you do? And so without a clear number, I think it's real hard to be a great equipment salesperson. So here's the goal. Pick out your top 5 products that you want to promote. Figure out how many prospecting calls on each, and I promise you, they will turn into demos that lead to sales. That is absolutely enormous, as taking control of your own destiny. Okay, so let's say tomorrow morning, I got this all teed up. I'm fired up to sell some Holter. That's going to be my focus. I'm about to call on Associated Family Practice. I'm going to go pick up my order. Sue is my buddy. Dr. Jones is my buddy. I walk in the door. I take the order. Well, I want to think, all right, doctor is one of those 45. I'm going to catch that guy in the hallway. What do I do? Well, my objective is to get Dr. Jones to agree to let me bring Brian in to show the Holter. So my objective is to get him to agree to let Brian come in and do a Holter demo. And I like to put a timestamp to it sometime within the next 14 days. Now, I'll also have a backup objective. If he tells me he has no interest in Holter, well, I might, who knows, maybe it's going to be a stress or something I'll hit on. So I'll always like to have 2 objectives. So we're going to do a little exercise here, and based on I want you all to think through, is this a good or bad equipment objective? Now, a good objective is what you want the buyer to do by the end of a call in order to move a step closer to gaining sales. So the key word is, what do you want the buyer to do tomorrow when you start prospecting? So let's think about this. Let's say I wake up, I'm about to call Dr. Jones, and I say, this is my objective. Well, I'm making a call to my current customer. I'm going to get my supply order. My objective is to discuss a promotion on a new product that I just learned about, which might be a Burdick product. So I want you to think, is that a good or a bad objective? And really the answer is, it's a bad objective, because this is your classic, I learn about a product, I talk about it a little bit, and then I hope it leads to a demo. See, in this objective, there's no customer activity. I'm not telling them or asking them to do anything. I'm just kind of showing up and talking about a promotion. How about this one? You're following up on a lead. Your objective is to stop by and let them know that the promotional price on the ECG will expire. So maybe this is the end of Q4. We got our IMCO promotion. And you're popping by, hey, Dr. Jones, just want to let you know that promo price on that ECG, it's going to expire. You also want to let them know that if they want to see the product, they should give you a call. So let's say I say, hey, Dr. Jones, if you want to take a look at that ECG we talked about that's on promo, just let me know. We see that's not a good objective, because once again, I'm not asking the customer to do anything. There's no activity that they need. So in this case, I would rather, my objective is get Dr. Jones to agree to let me come in and do a demo. Or if not, my objective is get him to say, no, he's not interested, and tell me why. And when he tells me why, I'll take that information, I'll put it in a little tickler file in my CRM, and at some point I will be back. How about this? You're making a call to a current customer. Your objective is to get Nurse Nancy to agree to let you bring in the Burdick rep for a demo of the newest PC-based ECG, and that answer is absolutely good, because the keyword is, my objective is to get Nurse Nancy to agree. And of course, if that's my objective, what's it going to force my lips to do? And the answer is, it's going to force me to say, Nurse Nancy, would you agree to let me bring in the Burdick rep to show you a new demo? And of course, that wouldn't be my only question, but my objective is very, very clear. How about this one? You're cold calling a clinic you used to do business with. Your objective is to get the nurse to tell you the name of key decision makers and to schedule a time to present the benefits of doing business with your company. And that's a great one, because great objectives are worded like this: to get the nurse to tell you she's doing something. So I don't want you to think that just because your lips are moving, good things are happening. Every time your lips move, they are done with the purpose of getting someone to do something. You have to stir action and activity. You have to get a lot of yeses and also a lot of nos when prospecting and becoming a great salesperson. And of course, those who don't do this well, let's do this exercise. Maybe you're new to sales. You have few accounts. You have no leads to follow up on. Oh no, your objective is find some worthless non-commission building activity to keep you busy until 5 o'clock. And of course, the answer to that is, that's not a good objective. We want our day to be packed with prospecting and demos, which ultimately lead to sales. So it really is a numbers game. Okay, so I walk into Dr. Jones. Here I am. I see him in the hallway. He gives me a little look. Maybe we start chatting about my 6-0 Kansas City Chiefs. He's pumped. I'm pumped. And I've got two options. I can either say, hey, Doc, check out this new Burdick ECG. This thing's awesome. You got to start doing Holter. You know, you can make a mint. Well, what he's going to do is just say, all right, let me look at it. I'll let you know. And I say, well, that's not great prospecting. What I have to do is I have to make Dr. Jones curious. I got to get him teased up a little bit. And we can do this in one of two ways. I can do it through a question, or I can do it through what I call a hard-hitting headline. Now, my question to Dr. Jones might be something like this. So let's say we're going to focus on Holter. I might say, hey, yeah, oh, sure, Chiefs did great, Doc, no doubt. Hey, listen, I just got your supply order. Sue's all taken care of. We're all set. Hey, I'm curious, would you be interested in hearing about a new product technology that might be able to increase your revenue by 15% this month? Now, I want you to think what Dr. Jones is going to say to that. That's a real hard thing to say. Nope, I'm making enough money. I'm not looking to increase my revenue. I've got plenty. Certainly at this point, he would say something like, well, how am I going to increase my revenue by 15%, Brian? And then what I would do is I would go into more detailed questions to learn more about what he's doing for patients who have abnormal ECGs. Now, here's another option. I might just hit him with a flat out big fat headline. Now, a headline is also designed to create curiosity. And it might be like this. Hey, Doc, yeah, we got Sue. She's all taken care of. I got your supply order. Hey, doctor, I'm curious. Listen to this. This is unbelievable. We found a way to save offices just like yours at least 3 hours a week. Well, I want you to think of what doctor's going to say to that. He's going to say, well, how are you going to do that? Even if he's busy, he's going to be curious enough to say, you know, I don't have a minute right now, but I'd love to hear how are you going to save me 3 hours a week? And now I made him curious. So I want to really focus here. It is so vital in equipment sales that before you ever deliver any features and benefits on a specific product, that you first tease them up a little bit. And you tease them up by creating prepared questions or hard-hitting headlines. So here's your homework, team. I want you to, let's say today we are done with this webinar. Let's say you're fully committed to selling Burdick Holters. I want you to sit down and I want you to craft 2 or 3 hook questions or 2 or 3 headlines that you think would make that Dr. Jones say, what are you talking about? Tell me more, which would then get you into more detailed discussion. Now, here's the good news about Holter and even ECGs is you don't have to be the product expert. Your job as a distribution rep, when you have great support like Burdick provides, is only to create enough curiosity to get a qualified lead, which means now Brian comes in. Brian is also going to ask detailed questions, probably create a little more curiosity, and deliver a very focused presentation that will hopefully lead to a sale. But you don't have to know cardiology. You don't even have to know how to talk the ins and outs of EMR with IT folks. That's the beauty of having, a company like Burdick, who I think it's like free labor for you because they're going to do a whole bunch of the heavy lifting. But in return, what you have to do is create curiosity and get them in the door. That is your number one job. Now, Brian had mentioned a few great questions early on. And he said, what I always like to find out is things like, what are they currently using? Right? And absolutely knowing what they're currently using it's a starting point because your only job when selling equipment is to find out what they're doing now. All right. So in this case, what kind of ECG are you currently using? Well, right now, maybe we have an old Burdick EK10. This thing's been a gold. We've never had to replace it. It's unbelievable. Well, the next question I would ask is, Doctor, have you looked at some of the newer technologies in ECGs that are making them more accurate and, in fact, can now connect to that new EMR you just invested in? Now, once again, think of that question. It's designed to get them to open up. Well, geez, I know our ECGs, we'd love to get more information into the system, but I don't want to, my staff isn't real IT savvy, so I've got some concerns there. Well, that's good feedback. But then I want to find out why he liked that old Burdick EK10. And you know what he'll probably say? Because it was easy. It was a workhorse. I had great support on it. But, things change. And everything would, we'd all like things to be a little bit better. So I'll ask that question. Well, what would you change about that ECG you've used? Well, I do wish it connected to my EMR. Well, I wish it was a little faster. I wish the interpretation was a little bit better. All sorts of things. But you noticed As a distribution rep, I have not even spoken yet about my key features and benefits. And then ultimately, we got to make sure that we're meeting all decision makers. And I love to ask, hey, doctor, are you still involved in deciding or in deciding which ECGs or whether or not an ECG replacement would be appropriate? Or who, as well as yourself, is responsible in a decision like this? We always want to make sure we ask that, even if you think you know. I love to ask the question. Okay, so I got my 45 prospects. Dr. Jones was my first one. I caught him in the nurse's station. I already planned my hook question because I prepared the night before, and I'm going fishing. I go in there and say, hey, Doc, would you be interested in saving 3 hours a week? He says, sure, Brad. What are you talking about? I said, well, what kind of ECG are you currently using? Still that old EK10? He says, yep. Hey, have you looked at some of the newer technology? Well, what's new? Well, let's talk about the one you've got. You find it effective. What would you alter, and who as well as self responsible? Right now, you've created an unbelievable dialogue. And you got that guy broken up like a bank vault. He's sharing so much information with you. So now you're all excited. You're pumped up. You pick up the phone and you call Bri. You say, Bri, check this out. I got a great lead on an ECG. All right. And Bri's going to say, well, what do they got now? And you know what's great? Because you asked amazing questions. You're going to be able to tell him these things. You're going to say, hey, Bri, right now they got an old EK10. This thing's ancient, but they loved it. They love Burdick. They didn't they really haven't looked at anything new, but they just bought a new EMR. So I think the fact that it's, EMR compatible and the fact that we can do PDFs, all these things, it's going to be huge for them. Dr. Jones is the key decision maker, but Sue, the office manager, is also a decision maker. She's going to be part of the demo as well. So we're setting up a demo. But here's what I want, Bri. I want you and I to meet at the Starbucks down the street 30 minutes before this demo, because we're going to talk about what each one of us does during the sales call. Now, Bri and I are going to sit down and I'm going to think, all right, what information should I give you before we walk in the door? And Bri, let me ask you this question. If I'm a dealer rep and I gave you all of that information, meaning I told you what they're using, I told you what they might have looked at, I told you what they love, told you what they hate, told you who the decision makers are, how excited would you be as a manufacturer rep?
I'd be ecstatic. First of all, you've given me all kinds of great information. Also, I'm protecting you. If I get calls from anybody else, it's like, look, I'm already working with my IMCO guy or gal. I'm going in there with them. So first, it's protecting your leads. Second of all, you've given me all this great intel, who the account is, what kind of equipment they have, what some of the things they want to see changed. So I got all these things going in my mind. When I go in there and start doing the demo, I already know their answers before they're telling them it, because I'm going to lead them down that path because of the great job you did giving me all that information. So when we set it up, I want to talk about your cost. Hey, what kind of margin do you want to make? That's your call. If you can make it in the demo with me, that's great. But we'll start high. Negotiating pricing. You don't want to start where you want to be at your end price because the doctor's expecting another discount off of that. Then you also got other things that we can sell in there. So we're going to go in there. We're going to combine it. You go in there. Then we set up the demo as well. So you give me the contact information, their phone number. I call them up on your behalf. We set up on a Tuesday, Wednesday, whatever is convenient for them. Then I'm going to start asking them some questions too. I'm going to reiterate some of the things you got from them. What are you currently using? How old is it? How many EKGs you do currently a day? I want to use this as a return on investment sheet as well. So when I go in there and ask those questions, I've got a piece of paper ready to give them. Hey, Doc, I understand you're doing 3 EKGs a day. And in this area with Medicare, you're getting $25 per EKG. Doc, it's going to take you X number of weeks to pay off this system. And let me show you some of the benefits that you're looking for.
Yeah.
And I'm not a feature and benefit guide to death. I just want to focus on 1 or 2 things that they want out of this new EKG. Because a lot of manufacturer reps lose the account. They're talking about everything about a piece of equipment. I want to focus on the things that they want to hear versus what I think they want to hear, because you're going to lose sales that way.
Yeah. Well, and a key thing too that you mentioned, Bri, is just having that discussion even about pricing. And what I want the reps to get away from, if this is the habit, is, hey, Bri, I got a demo. Call the guy and go do the demo, and then I'll put some pricing together after. And those are the days I want behind us, because right. So 2 things that have to happen. First of all, I want the distribution rep and the manufacturer rep at every demo together. And why do you think we want that? And the answer is because we want to close it that day, right? And so you being there is very, very important. but also that communication before the call. So when we set the price, we are in sync, right? So manufacturer reps are not detail people. That right, together you are sales people, and so you need great preparation. All right. So Brian and I are together. We're all set. We spoke before the call. We're at Starbucks. In fact, we spoke the night before we even met at Starbucks. I told Bri, I'm going in at list price on this thing. But also, you know what, Bri? I believe in leasing, and we're going to talk a little about leasing here in a couple slides. But I've prepared leasing number with my the leasing company who we work with. So I took all my rate factors, and Bri, I've got a few different leasing options all set, ready to go, and this is going to be at list price. But you know, Bri reminds me that there's a great IMCO promotion, so I might have some negotiation flexibility in there. But I'm not going to give that away right off the bat. I'm going to use that as a negotiation tool. I'm going to be that might be the little sweetener. So there's another tip. Just because there's a promotion going on, don't start with the promotion. Heck, it'd be nice if you didn't even have to give it. If somehow you could put that in your pocket, what's wrong with that? Or you can save your company or Burdick a few bucks. There's nothing wrong with that. So we are prepared and ready to go. All right, so now we move on. What do we do when it's in the call? So Brian and I, we give each other a little chest bump. We're all pumped up. We show up. They let us behind the glass. We go into the little back room. We set up the ECG. What do we do in the call? Well, here's the deal. We're working as a big, fat team. All right, Brian and I each have a job to do in this call. So you think, what is the primary role of the distribution rep during the call? The primary role of the distribution rep is to well, first of all, build the respect and trust, do a nice introduction. I want you to pump up that manufacturer rep. So if I was bringing Brian, I would say, you know what? Hey, Dr. Jones, we offer a lot of different manufacturers, a lot of ECGs, but I brought in Brian and I brought in Burdick because cardiology is what they do. It's what they know. And I wanted to bring you the best. And so, Brian's been in this industry for probably close to 20 years. There's no one better. So there you go, Brian. So it's sort of like, it's an introduction. It's a big, beefy, fat introduction. And it really does lend credibility. Now, I want you to think, what's the role of Brian? Well, that depends on what you two talked about before back at Starbucks. So here's what I would have told Brian. I would have said, Brian, here's what we're going to do. We're going to go in. My job is to build a little respect and trust. We're going to talk a little about the Chiefs game. We're going to tee it up. Then I'm going to do a brief recap, Brian. I'm going to take us back to the prospecting call, and I'm going to say, hey, Doc, if you remember, we talked about the saving you some time during the week because we got this cool ECG I wanted to show you. I know you're currently using the Burdick EK10. You said you really haven't looked at anything new in the market. So you see what I'm doing? I'm doing a recap on our current conversation because mentally I want to get him back to where he was when I was prospecting. And so it's real important that we don't just say, okay, here you go, Bri, just dive in, right? And now I would trust a guy like Bri right, to do it because I know Brian would slow this sale down and start asking questions. But I will tell you, not all manufacturers are as skilled as a guy like McCarthy. And I'm not just saying this, Brian, because I love you. I'm saying this because if you don't tee it up, or if you haven't even talked about the roles in the call, you've all been through this, where you'll say, okay, this is Jack Johnson, and he's going to show you the EKG. And that guy starts dropping bombs all over your customer, and you don't know what to do with yourself. All right. So it's important you tee it up. And of course, you would have talked about the roles before. Also, I want you to make sure all the decision makers are in the room, and this should obviously be done beforehand. The big mistake we make is we do a great demo, and they say, one of the decision makers says, we got to show the other doctors this, and now you got to get Brian to come back at a different time. So do him a favor, do yourself a favor. Okay, take it from there. Now, also, once I give the keys to Brian, and it's his time to do his thing, I'm out of it. I am done. I trust him. He's doing his gig. He's going to ask his questions, and I'm not going to start piping up or piping in to try to make myself look good. I'm going to sit back and let the pro be the pro. My job as a pro is I'm a relationship builder. I'm a questioner. I'm a curiosity builder, but I'm going to let this guy do his dance. Now, here's something I see all too frequently in our world, and it's kind of comical. And Brian, you could probably attest to this having happened in your life, where you'll go in with a distribution rep, and the distribution rep changes sides. And what I mean by changes sides is Brian's in the middle of delivering a 5-star demonstration, and all of a sudden the dealer rep, I've seen this, starts sort of peppering the manufacturer rep with questions almost like they are the doctor. Hey, so tell me, Bri, I heard that, there's other manufacturers with better EMR or capability. Or, hey, Bri, you guys say you got a 5-year warranty, or I know you're just a 4-year warranty. And I say, well, whose side are you on? So make sure you always stay on the side of your manufacturer. And I think some dealer reps do this because they think it makes them more credible with their physician or their decision maker. And I say, my gosh, it doesn't, right? So make sure you stay on the A team. That's real important. Now, here's another thing.
Think, Brian,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think you bring up a great point. And me as a manufacturer, Brian, I'm in there representing you as a distributor. I'm also representing me as a manufacturer, but I'm representing you because you got me in there, and I'm going to go in there representing IMCO on this deal.
Yep. Yeah. So let's stick together. is the point. Yeah. Although it is kind of fun. It is funny when it happens, though. It makes for good stories. Yeah. All right. All right. So now, here's what I know about a guy like Brian, a team like Burdick, is he's not going to drop a whole bunch of bombs. And so it is your job to prepare your manufacturer reps before they go in and tell them don't talk too much. Tell them, focus them on what you think they need to communicate, but coach them. Otherwise, the risk is they will become bomb droppers, and what was going to be a 30-minute demo turns into an hour demo and a ticked-off decision maker. Okay, so we don't want that. Remember, we talked about recapping your prospecting call. All right, so we're in that call. You built respect and trust. You did a recap. Bri got in there, kicked in some great questions. He's taken amazing notes. He's got his demo unit with him, and he starts delivering a very focused presentation. In that presentation, he's hitting key features and benefits, talking about connectivity. He's letting the doctor or the office manager, whomever, play with the device. He's doing printouts. He's got them all fired up. And the Dr. Jones says, whoa, I kind of like this. Now the question is, who does the closing? And this is a great question. It's a great debate. Now, when I do distribution sales meetings and I ask that question, who should do the closing? What do you think they typically say? Brian, what would you think distribution folks would say when I ask the question, who should do the closing? And when I say closing, it means answering the question, how much, and going for the big fat order. Who do you think? I'm just curious.
If I'm involved and this question's come to me, I not only am I trying to close with I don't even close with the pricing. I close with Doc. I know you're very interested. I can be here next Tuesday or Thursday afternoon to do the in-service with your staff. And if I'm getting, Tuesday sounds great, that's a close. I'm not waiting for the price. They already told me the close. And, through your training, Brian, years ago, close early, close often. Yeah. I'm trying to do everything that I can to get the in-service moving forward. And especially when I see the selling signals. And I'm concentrating, like a manufacturer drops too many bombs, I just concentrate on the things that they want to see changed. Yeah. You talked about an EK10. I'm going to focus on, hey, let me show you how to load up paper in a new EKG machine. Their eyes bug out of their eyes when that's all you got to do. Sometimes that's all I need to do. Yeah. When you want me to come in here and do the in-service, and I give them options. It's Tuesday afternoon better, or is it Thursday morning? Yep. Or is it next Wednesday afternoon? You let me know. I let them make the decision versus, Doc, I only can come here next Tuesday afternoon. Well, yep. Right, I'm not going to buy your machine because it's not convenient to me. I make sure it's convenient to them.
Yeah, but but listen to what you're saying, Bri, which I love. You're the guy who wants to do the closing, right? You like that, and the reason why you want to do the closing is because you're good at it, right? Now, so here's the answer to my question: is who does the closing? And you answered it. It's whoever's better at it, right? Now, so I want a distribution rep saying, I want to do the closing because that tells me they're confident. But I will make sure as the manufacturer rep that they are prepared to do the closing, meaning, maybe we put financing together. They know ROI information. Maybe they can talk CPT codes. If they're capable of doing that and having that discussion, I say the dealer rep goes. But I will tell you this. If I'm taking a Brian McCarthy or one of the Burdick reps in there who I feel confident is going to represent me well, they've done their homework, and they know how to close, I'm going to sit back and let them go. Here's what I don't want you to do. I don't want you to make the medical industry cardinal sin, and that is, okay, great, Doc, I'm glad you like it. Let me get back to my office and, I'll put a quote together, and then I'll send it over to you. Don't do that. It's crazy talk right there. And I wonder why that happens so much. And to me, what it says is the dealer rep and with the manufacturer didn't prepare. They didn't do enough beforehand, because the goal here today isn't to do a demo. Remember what our objective when I bring Brian is. My objective is to get the customer to agree to purchase this today. It's not tomorrow. It's not the next day. It's today. And I can only do it if Brian and I talked about pricing and also talked about who's doing the closing. Excuse me. So what are the expectations in the call? In this call, I'm going to go get the deal. But there comes a point where the doctor, I know Brian is unbelievable and he does a little two-choice close. You want to do it, do the in-service either next Tuesday or Wednesday. But let's say they stop back and say, you know what, Brian, I mean, if we go with it, it might be, we probably can do it Tuesday afternoon. But I got to tell you got to tell me how much it is. All right. So that seems like a fairly logical question, them knowing how much they're going to have to pay. Well, I will tell you, in our industry, the greatest, and I'm going to say this with passion, the greatest equipment salespeople are leasing experts. I'm not saying they kind of know leasing. I'm going to tell you straight up, the best equipment distribution folks and manufacturing folks are equipment or are leasing experts. Now, if I had to make a guess on what percentage of distribution folks are leasing experts, I got to tell you, it's probably 2 or 3%. So the good news is if you say that, you know what, in the fourth quarter, I'm going to become more comfortable with my leasing agreements. I'm going to know those things in and out. And every single piece of equipment that's $5,000 or more, I'm going to present leasing on every option. I will tell you what, you're going to end up leasing some products, but who cares even if you don't? You're going to find some of those folks who otherwise are cash, maybe it's a cash flow is down, they don't have the money, and otherwise they would put off this purchase. But if you can make it financially feasible because you are a leasing and finance expert, you're going to create the urgency to get the order today, not when they have money in the budget. All right, so let's think. Here we are, Brian. I go in and we're set to go. The doc says, all right, Brian, I love it. How much is it? And you and I are fighting over who's a better closer. And so I win the battle. I knock you out, and I say it's my turn. So I'm going to say this. All right, doctor. So based on what we showed you today, can you see how this new upgraded technology combined with your EMR, can you see how it might save you some time each week? And doctor says, my gosh, this is awesome. This is going to save us not only time, but I love the fact that we can do some additional things. I'm all in. How much is it, Brian? Well, so you see, I got my big fat yes out of the guy. So clinically, I have to understand that they like it first. Because frankly, if clinically I don't get a big fat yes, it doesn't matter if the damn thing is free, right? So I got to get a big fat yes. But then I'll say, okay, great, doctor, I'm glad you like it. Let's see if it makes financial sense. So look at those words. Let's see if it makes financial sense. That's called slight indifference. And for those of you who went through my negotiation webinar, you know that is a powerful negotiation posture. I'm going to say something like this. All right, we're changing gears. This is Holter, but same concept. I'm going to say, well, doctor, most clinics like yours that have gotten involved with the Burdick Vision Holter, or in this case, the ECG, have gone with a package one with a 12-month investment of $241.67 a month. We've got others who just choose to make the total investment outright of blank. So that would just be the total dollars, which, oh, by the way, would be at list price with no promo stuff built in here. And then still other clinics, doctor, more than limited or fixed budget, go with our 24-month program of $120.83 a month. Which one of those three, which program do you think makes most financial sense for your clinic? Now, here's the beauty of this. And Brian, you might remember this from our earlier training days, right? The great news is there's different types of buyers. Some of your doctors want to just do what everyone else is doing, right? So a lot of times, if you present it, most clinics go with a 12-month investment. Well, they'll go with it. But the good news is you might have some points built in there and got a little extra cash in the pocket. But then we have others who make the total investment outright of X number of thousands of dollars. Well, the other thing I like about this is you'll notice I didn't throw out the price first. In fact, it was sort of padded and softened a little bit because I threw out $241.67 in my first option. So this is awesome, guys. Let's say if you got a $50,000 deal going down. Well, if a doc says, how much is it? And you say, well, it's about $50K. See, you can't make that sound good, but you could make, well, you know what? I ran some numbers last night. Most officers who get involved in this product go with option number one, which is a 12-month investment of blank, blank, blank. Well, we have others who just choose to put it in their budget. The total investment is $49,500. Still, we have other clinics more in a limited or fixed budget, and they like to extend those payments out. They go with a 40-month program of $1,597. Which one do you think makes most sense for you? And I will tell you that you're going to lead more people to more higher margin sales by doing this on every single equipment sale. Heck, you can do this on a $2,000 sale. In fact, Brian and I, back in our old days, used to sell a product called the Micro Temp 2. It was a $2,000 product, and no one thought that you can lease this product. And I leased over 80% of a $2,000 product because the monthly investment was $82. That was 4 kids walking into the office, which could be done by the time I left that day. And so don't look for reasons to not use leasing. Look for reasons to always use leasing. And whether they lease or not, I don't really care. I just want to give them different options. Now, once again, Brian and I would have talked this out beforehand. I would have had this laid out in a nice little Word document with option 1, option 2, and option 3. And so when it comes time to talk price, I would have flipped that sheet around and I would use these words exactly like this. Now, guess what? These words might not roll off your tongue like poetry, but they can. And how can you make that happen? Well, you have to practice. You actually have to take the printout of this, which you can download from the Winner Circle site. And I want you to study this. So think about it. Most clinics, others, and others more in a limited or fixed budget. Those are 3 different categories that should be included in every equipment sale. And my gosh, wait till you see what happens. And I will tell you, even in my own training business, I do this. And I'm going to give you a quick example because you're wondering, what does this apply to? And I say it applies to everything. Heck, it even applies to selling things that aren't $2,000. But I'll have companies call me throughout the week and they'll say, hey, Brian, we have a national sales meeting coming up. We want you to speak at our meeting. And we're thinking of doing a half-day session. That's what we're interested in. And of course, I will do everything I talk to you today. I'm going to ask them questions. I'm going to open them up. I'm going to deliver a presentation on my training programs, just like selling a piece of equipment. And then I will have prepared a quote with 3 options. And guess how this would go? Remember, they called me expecting a half-day seminar. But you know what I'll say to them? Option 1, based on your needs, most people who get involved in a training session go with a full-day session, which also includes materials. We have others who are really looking for a big change in their sales force, go with a 2-day boot camp with online training, et cetera, et cetera. Well, this is a big, fat, beefy package that they never even considered. But then we have others, though, more in a limited or fixed training budget, go with option number 3, which is a half-day program. Well, think about it. They called me for the half-day program, which is a limited or fixed budget. So I really don't care which one they go with, but you know how often they go with packages that I never, ever thought they would go with? More than half the time. And so my point is you think about an equipment sale. Let's say I want to say, hey, option number 1 includes, an ECG and several rolls of paper and maybe some add-on stuff. We have others who want a more comprehensive solution. Heck, they go with an ECG and a Holter. And we have others more limited fixed budget, just go with an ECG. So see how there's a different way that you can use 3 different options. Leasing is just one of them, but you can also just throw 3 different product categories. Guys, I will tell you, if you adopt this in your business, I can wholeheartedly say with passion that you will increase your sales, your equipment sales, by 20% or more immediately in the 4th quarter. I cannot stress this enough. This isn't just some technique out of a book. This is a straight up technique that helped me sell more equipment in my equipment selling days, but also it's amazing what it has done in my own businesses. It's religion in the Precise companies. So I highly recommend that you use it. All right. And Brian, you might concur with this, but I find that the best time to get somebody to say yes is when they just said yes. So let's say I just sold Dr. Jones at ECG, says Sullivan. I love it. Let's set up for that 24-month lease. This way I don't have to worry about my cash flow. Hey, and I love that section 179 you talked about, because I understand if I do a $1 buyout, you're telling me I can write off the whole amount of this and get the tax benefits, and I don't have to shovel out the cash. Holy cow, that's unbelievable. Yes, I'm all in.
That's correct.
Brian, what's that, Brian?
Absolutely, and what I do, I tell Doc, I'm not a CPA, but this is it's Section 179. It's been out there. I said, I'm not a CPA, so don't trust me on it. But this is what the government allows you. I'm sure your CPA will be contacting you. Ask them what about Section 179, and they're going to tell you the same thing. But I would make sure deal with them. Make sure what I'm telling you is exactly what it means out there.
Yep, absolutely. And it's huge. And the dollars available now, heck, back in our day, Brad, when we worked together, it was the Section 179 allowed 17,500. And what's it? It's well over $100,000 now. And so it's holiday season's right around the corner. Start selling them a whole bunch of stuff so they can, and believe me, their accountant will kind of like them because they have to spend some of that money. Might as well be on stuff that brings in money to them, like Holter. Right? All right, so here's what I would say, Bri. So you and I are in that account. We just got a big fat ECG order. And you, being the savvy salesperson that you are, you say, hey, Doctor, great. I'll be back next Tuesday. We'll do the in-service. And while you're packing up your bag, you say something like this. Hey, doctor, I'm curious. When I come back, would you be interested in hearing about a new product that might be able to increase in your revenue and help those patients who have abnormal ECGs? Now, you see what Brian just did? Brian started the process up all over again and asked a prospecting call or prospecting question. And you know what? Now we come back, not only are we doing an in-service, we're doing a demo on Holter. So that's the beauty is, when you get someone to say yes, don't run right there. Look for a reason to prospect for an add-on product, and great things will happen. And that'll lead into upsells and cross-sells. And I'm also a big fan of asking for, go ahead, Brian.
Yeah, absolutely. And even during when you close an ECG, talking about Holter, talking about stress, because I try to add on a product right away, especially when it ties into an ECG. I in my mind, I already sold the ECG. I'm going to start closing on that Holter. What are you currently doing for Holter? We send them out. Well, who do you send them to? We send them to the hospital. How many are you sending out? What's the time on getting those back and so forth? And next thing you know, they're concentrating on Holter because they're interested in it. Let's tie it into the not versus getting a $3,000 ECG sale. You just got a $10,000 sale on selling both.
Yeah. And imagine this, Bri. Let's say you've already got that 24-month lease all set up. How great would it be just to tag on the, a little bit extra on that monthly investment? Now that Dr. Jones has an ECG and a Holter, only for a little bit extra money per month, he's still taking advantage of Section 179, and he still has his money in his pocket, so his cash flow is still there. That's huge.
Yeah, shame on me for not asking those questions.
Yeah.
I'm going to do everything I can and get you guys as many sales as I can with everything that we sell.
Amen. All right, so let's talk about it now. I love Dr. Jones so much that I want to take care of him a little bit. The good news is in Q4 you've got some good offers. So let's talk about what's in it for the customer.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. And it's a win-win for everybody, and especially for your customers who are right on that fence. Hey, Doc, right now, and this is what I throw in at the end. I don't try to do this at the beginning. Hey, Doc, I tell you what, you're that close. We can get you an additional recorder at no charge. It's an $1,800 value. We can get that in for you if we can get the deal done today. Same thing on an EKG. We got free interpretation. It's a $500 value. We can get that right away. There's a redemption form. Just fill it out. We'll get it in. We'll do the in-service. Make sure you have the interpretation. And I try to close those at the end because I don't want to put those at the beginning of the demo. Those are the last things I want to do with negotiations.
Amen.
Trying to close it with some free stuff. You do it at the beginning, they're going to want more free stuff.
Yep.
If this is what's going to make you close today, we can get you a free Holter recorder, and it's worth almost $2,000.
It's perfect. That's perfect.
Yep.
Yeah, and to that point, Bri, so you're dead on. Is just in general in negotiation, there'd be no reason we would want to bring this up in front. And I think a lot of folks make the mistake in doing this in prospecting. So, for instance, I might not have even asked the questions or created a need for Holter, and my mistake might be, hey, Dr. Jones, take a look. There's this new Burdick Holter. We've got a promo on it. You can get $1,800 off. So we're selling this promotion without ever selling the value of the procedure. And now, if that turns into a demo, I've lost a bargaining chip or I lost a closing chip, and so that is a huge piece of advice you just gave them. Keep it in your pocket until you need it. Very, very important. All right. So what's in it for the rep? Because I'm all fired up.
One thing that's in the rep, we've got great cost. I mean, there's no reason why we can't sell
All right. So and it's
selling it.
spiff.
We got a spiff. $100 for selling an EKG on top of the margin you got to make. Winner Circle points for the fabulous trips that they give out at their national sales promotion. The spiff rewards, and that's something that they will give away. And we'll make sure that our reps know about the IMCO promotion.
Right.
Everything that you need to know about. And we're not going in there, hey, we'll sell an EKG. Hey, guys, this is going to help you get on those trips. This is going to help you earn some points to get on those trips. Whatever we need to do, let's work together and get these done.
Amen. Amen. All right. And then just some closing tips here. This is sort of a review of what we've already gone through. Ask those questions. What ECG Holter are they currently using? Remember those clear questions. That EMR is obviously a hot topic right now. That's a great question that will lead to hopefully a demo. Do they do Holter? Find out what paper, electrodes, and of course what Bride mentioned is Section 179, just how important that is. Become a financial / Section 179 expert leasing guru, and you will separate yourself from everybody else. So all right, Bride, this is where we start begging the folks, because now we've given them all this product or this knowledge. We've given them some skills. Tomorrow morning, they're going to wake up thinking of what 45 doctors are worthy of their prospecting. What do you want out of them?
Right, Dave. Get us in the car with you guys. While you're in there doing your orders, we can go in there doing some hunting. Hey, I'm with Burdick. Can I check out your EKG? I see you have it down there. I just want to make sure it's working fine. I'm getting intel off of that machine. I see the nurse coming out of the room. I see the doctor walking down the hallway. Hey, I'm with Burdick and so forth. Get us in there. And plus, we can start asking these questions while we're with you. And when we're not working with you the next day, you can just take those same questions with you and ask those same questions that we just asked. So get us in the car. Let's go talk on these accounts. Let's go see everybody that's on your list, and let's make it a valuable day. Not just call on 10 accounts. Let's go call on 10 prospects and set that up before we get in the car. Hey, I'd love to work with you Monday, but let's make sure we've got some demos lined up. We've got some calls. Hey, I'm working with the Burdick rep next Tuesday. Do you mind if we come in there and talk about your EKG or Holter? Absolutely. Get those set up. And, of course, we got this tremendous fourth quarter promotion going on. Asking those key questions to those customers and get them excited. Maybe I wasn't thinking about getting an EKG this year. Maybe I will now. Bring the Burdick rep with you.
Yep. Amen. All right, good. So Karen, this is where you tell them about the great points they get for attending this webinar. Take it from there.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Brian. You guys know you get Winner Circle tokens for your attendance today by your login that Brian will give me a report a little later, maybe tomorrow, and it'll let me know that you're logged in. If there's more than one of you at a computer, make sure you email me and let me know who else was in the room. You also get that AMS credit with Hi, and I will do all that reporting for you. I'll let them know that you attended. And then later on in the week, we'll have this webinar posted online, and you guys can get your other team members who maybe weren't able to attend today, get them to watch this webinar. This was one of the really good ones, Brian. And Brian, you did a great job. So make sure you get your team to watch the recorded version, and it will be on the Winner Circle pages of Access IMCO. We thank you very much for all your attendance for the whole entire year. We've done quite a few of these, and they've all been a great success. This is good that you're out here learning. And, of course, Brian is one of the best, so we're glad to have him as a partner training the reps. So, and thank you to our vendor partners. Brian McCarthy, thank you.
Hello?
Yep.
Karen?
Yep.
Okay, sorry you cut off there. All right.
Oh, okay, yep.
All right.
We're all good.
All right,
good.
Good. All right, so hey, we'll wrap it up. Hey, Bri, thanks again, buddy. Karen, thank you. We've had a great series together. No doubt we'll do more training in the future. And everybody, I want to thank you for your commitment. Many of you have attended all of these webinars. And all I'm saying is that, hopefully we've given you some knowledge and skill that's going to separate you from all the big boys out there, because that's the goal. So on behalf of the entire Precise Selling Company, again, which is my wife and 3 children, I thank you. Good luck. God bless. Go get them. Take care.
Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody.
Bye.